Jay, turn your microphone on.
I was trying to get away with that. All items listed under unfinished business or new business are voted on separately. First, councilors will be given an opportunity for questions or comments. Once all councilors have had an opportunity to speak, citizens will be given an opportunity for comments or questions. Citizens must speak at the podium and identify themselves. Each citizen will be allowed one opportunity to speak and will be limited to 3 minutes. Finally, councilors will be given another opportunity to speak or comment. Citizens who would like to speak on a topic that does not appear on tonight's agenda will have an opportunity to do so at the end of the meeting under public comments section of the agenda. All right, Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, do we have any disclosure of conflict of interest?
I do, Mr. Mayor.
You do?
Yep.
All right.
Ordinance 60, 2022, regarding the Ware Butler zoning change. I work for the competition, so if the council sees fit, then I'll abstain from that vote. But if not, then I'm in favor of it, of the movement anyway, so.
We talked about that last time. You were fine.
Yeah. I bring it up every time, though.
Yep. We don't think it's conflict. You gotta have a job. That's what it is. You don't own the company. I mean, if you do and you're not telling us, something's up, but.
If I do and I'm not in Florida, there's a problem.
Well, you had an opportunity, you chose Winslow. All right, so let's move on to the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council DeBrito?
Yes.
Council Klepak?
Yes.
Council Green? Yes. Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
Yes.
Council McCormick?
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, moving on to old business, ordinance 22, 2022.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we read the entire agenda by title only.
Second.
Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council DeBrito?
Yes.
Council Klepak?
Yes.
Council Green? Yes. Is your mic on, Councilor?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Councilor Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
Yes.
Council McCormick?
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving on to ordinance 40,
Ordinance
2022.
22.
22.
Amend the zoning ordinance creating CC1 zone and rezoning parcels to CC1 zone.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Mayor, I'm making a motion that we amend by substitution.
Okay. What do you substitute?
Patty?
There was, in the agenda packet, there's an item replacing the language. It's labeled proposed amendment by substitution, and that will accept the parcels, the 3 parcels that want to opt out.
Okay.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you.
Can I get a roll call on the amendment?
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council DeBrito?
Yes.
Council Klepak?
Yes.
Council Green?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
Yes.
Council Thomas? I'm sorry, Thomas.
See what
I'm
you
so
did there.
sorry.
It's okay. Yes.
Council McCormick, my apologies. That was a yes.
You don't call him once.
I was wondering why no one was answering. The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Move as amended.
Second.
Go ahead, roll call, Patty.
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council DeBrito?
Yes.
Council Klepak?
Yes.
Council Green?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
Yes.
Council McCormick?
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Moving on to order 40, 2022.
Amend the lease agreement between the City of Waterville and the Waterville Opera House Improvement Association.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Patty, did you have an amendment that you wanted to address and throw out there?
Yes, the proposed amendment is to move that the following be inserted at the end of Article 3, Section B. Lessee will recognize lessor as a season sponsor or like designation as future sponsorship categories may warrant, which includes but is not limited to prominent acknowledgement at event openings and in print and media advertising for the term of the lease.
I'm going to move that as an amendment.
Second.
Second.
Can I get a roll call on that amendment?
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counsel DeBrito?
Yes.
Counsel Klepak?
Yes.
Counsel Green?
Yes.
Counsel Foss?
Yes.
Counsel Frankie?
Yes.
Counsel McCormick?
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right.
Do we want to move it as amended?
Move as amended, sorry. My apologies.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counsel DeBrito?
Yes.
Counsel Klepak?
Yes.
Counsel Green?
Yes.
Counsel Foss?
Yes.
Counsel Frankie?
Yes.
Counsel McCormick?
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Moving on to ordinance 45, 2022.
Retire plastic bag ordinance.
Move to adopt.
Second.
I
Pat-
think, oh,
Go ahead, go ahead.
Well, I just see that Claude has his hand raised.
Go ahead, Claude. I'll say what I want to after.
I'd like to move that we table this one indefinitely. Our ordinance is less intrusive than the state ordinance. I don't see any reason to repeal it, particularly noting that it was passed by plebiscite.
Even though I didn't vote for the bag ban, it is the people's wish, so I'll second that.
Patty, can I get a roll call on that?
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counsel DeBrito?
Yes.
Counsel Klepak?
Yes.
Counsel Green?
Yes.
Counsel Foss?
Yes.
Counsel Frankie?
Yes.
Counsel McCormick?
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Moving on to ordinance 47, 2022.
Establish the Comprehensive Plan Review Commission.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Patty, did you have an amendment for this one as well?
Yes, I do. Yes. So there are two clarifying amendments that should be considered. Move to replace the ordinance title with the following: create a comprehensive plan review ordinance would make it consistent with the city charter. And move to replace the references to renumbered sections of Article 6 of the zoning ordinance with the following. Section 6.3.2b and 6.3.2c are renumbered as 6.3.3a and 6.3.3b respectively.
I'm going to move them both as amendment.
Second.
Roll call on that, Patty.
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counsel DeBrito?
Yes.
Counsel Klepak?
Yes.
Counsel Green?
Yes.
Counsel Foss?
Yes.
Counsel Frankie?
Yes.
Counsel McCormick?
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Move as amended.
Second.
All right, and before you guys go for it, Patty, do we have the names of the people on this committee?
There's a separate resolution at the end of the agenda for
Okay.
all the people to be appointed.
Done deal.
Can I ask a question on this?
Yes.
We're doing the city, but I know that there are a couple of neighborhood plans attached to some of this stuff. Are those going to be addressed at the same time? Or
Yes.
do we need to look at, I know that the South End, they have one that is over 15 years old for the
Yeah,
South
they-
End that,
All encompassing, it's the
All
entire
right.
city.
I just want to
Well-
make sure that,
If I understand your question, you're asking, will the South End Neighborhood Association plan be considered by this committee? Is that
well,
what you're asking?
I don't know how many others are out there. I just know that there's one for the there was a South End comprehensive plan. And if there's a way I could get that attached to this, or if it isn't already there, not knowing any better,
Well,
how do we,
you have representation from the South End Neighborhood Association on the comprehensive plan.
all right, I'm just want to make sure that,
So you do have a member who is of Senna.
Yeah.
Who is also on this comprehensive
all right.
plan committee.
I
So
just want that to be looked at,
I would
given
believe that
for its
something
age.
like that would be brought up by the representative from that.
I'm just
area.
covering my bases.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're two separate documents, but it's true that the Senna plan is quite old, even older than the comprehensive plan.
I mean,
But
it's,
they're, yeah.
And you can sit on some of these meetings if you want to.
I'm gonna try, lack of better.
All right, Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counsel Morris,
Yep.
Counsel DeBrito,
Yes.
Counsel Klepak,
Yes.
Counsel Green,
Yes,
Counsel Foss,
Yes.
Counsel Frankie,
Yes,
Counsel McCormick.
Yes,
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Move on to Resolution 49, 2022.
Authorize funds from the Fire Rescue Reserve account.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Daly, do you have some information on this one?
I do. We have determined that we can cover the cost of this by making two moves. One within our current budget to use some of the unexpended funds that were budgeted for new positions. We have ample latitude to do that in that balance. And the other, in concert with Chief Essler, is to push $40,000 of that, the cost of that list, off to the FY23 budget.
Awesome. Then with that information, I'm going to make a motion, we postpone this indefinitely.
Second.
Any other discussion? Patty, can I get a roll call on that?
Counsel Morris,
Yes.
Counsel DeBrito,
Yes.
Counsel Klepak,
Yes.
Counsel Green,
yes,
Counsel Foss,
Yes.
Counsel Frankie,
yes,
Counsel McCormick.
yes,
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Mr. Mayor.
New
Okay.
business.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, can we, I'd like to make a motion. Can we take Resolution 63, 2022 out of order? So people
Yes.
don't have to sit here for,
Yes.
like, we can appoint these folks real quick and
I'll second that.
get them out
Patty, can I
if
get
they
a roll
want,
call
unless
on
they
that?
want to stay.
Counsel Morris,
Yes.
Counsel DeBrito,
Yes.
Counsel Klepak,
Yep.
Counsel Green,
yes,
Counsel Foss.
Yes.
Counsel Frankie,
yes,
Counsel McCormick.
yes.
Vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed. That's the last item, right?
Yes.
Resolution 63, 2022.
Yeah, I've got it, sorry. Appoint members to the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee.
Move to adopt?
Second.
I'd like to offer up an amendment.
Yeah.
Somebody help me.
Yeah, I got you.
David Green.
David Johnson.
That's, yes,
Okay.
David Green, David Johnson, yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to make an amendment. Do we do, where are we at, Patty? Are we discussion now?
Yes, it's
Okay.
been moved and seconded.
Thank the
Yes.
Lord. Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to make an amendment to change the word committee to commission, and also add David Johnson to the list of people.
Thank you.
Second.
Can I get a roll call on that amendment, Patty?
Counsel Morris,
Yes.
Counsel DeBrito,
Yes.
Counsel Klepak,
Yep.
Counsel Green,
yes,
Counsel Foss.
Yes.
Counsel Frankie,
yes,
Counsel McCormick.
Yes,
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Move as amended?
Second.
Any further discussion now?
could we just have a list of the people that we're
Yep.
nominating?
Yes.
Read, thank you.
Robert Dombrowski Jr., Jennifer Bergeron, Rian Finch, Christopher Levesque. We just added David Johnson as a planning board member, Carrie Hall, Benjamin Dow, Claude Frankie, City Councilor, Steve Daly, City Manager, and Jay Coelho, Mayor.
Thank you.
We added David late because we were looking for a planning board member that might possibly be.
Yeah.
And so that's how
Great.
that came about. Claude, you had a question?
No.
Okay. No further discussion. Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes?
Council DeBrito,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss.
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council McCormick.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Moving on to Resolution 62, 2022. Aren't we going out of order?
Going
I
back.
thought just for
Now
that
we can
one
go back,
Just for
item.
that
we
one.
can go back to
Go back to
57.
57.
Oh, you could have put 57 right at the end.
Well, it still doesn't get 63 to the top, though.
Are we on to Resolution 57?
Resolution 57, 2022.
Override of the mayor's veto.
Move to adopt.
Second, sorry.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have something to say, actually. So I think that when we adopted this resolution a few weeks ago, we were in the height of Omicron, and it is a very quick-moving strain of the virus, as we know. And I can understand that people, a number of counselors don't want to meet remotely, but I think that, and the question of access has been mentioned, offering people public access. I actually think that it's really about safety, and that was the reason that we adopted it. I think that it is possible at this juncture to meet in person, as long as we follow the resolution that we adopted in October to wear masks and to ask members of the public to wear masks, as most of them are. And I came in person tonight because I wanted to show some confidence in the system and hope that my fellow counselors would come on board and wear masks, and I thank you to those that have, because that makes me feel much more comfortable about being in a public space. I think that if we're going to go forward, we really have to come together and consider others and the safety of meeting in public. This is not an unusual thing to ask of people, to wear masks in a public gathering, especially in a 3-hour meeting. Maybe we'll be a little shorter tonight. But anyway, so I'm not going to vote to override the veto. I think it is possible to meet in person now with the virus as it is, but I do think we should be wearing masks at meetings.
Anyone else? Councilor Klepak.
Thank you. I appreciate your sentiments and your gesture, Councilor Green. I just wanted to point out, however, that in January, when this resolution was first being conceived by Councilor Frankie, I believe, Maine stood at, I believe it was 48th or 49th in the country in terms of the per capita caseload. And today, the state of Maine, you're quite correct, Councilor Green, that numbers have dropped precipitously around the country, but today, Maine stands at number 9 in the country in that same metric. Actually, the numbers in the state of Maine have remained static, while the rest of the country has dropped precipitously. Maine has maintained a pernicious stagnation in the number of cases, the number of positives, and the number of hospitalizations, and in the number of deaths. If you actually look at the data, there are Mainers dying on a consistent basis. And I'm only pointing this out to further underline the importance of prudence, the importance of responsibility to public safety, and the importance of civic leaders setting examples for their constituents. With all that being said, simply me speaking up for data and science and prudence, I also want to say that I support collegiality and consensus and choice in whether a counselor, a constituent, etc., are able to attend a meeting remotely or in person.
Thank you, Councilor Klepak. Anyone else? No data?
Nope. 'Cause I
All right.
ain't gonna get it.
Hmm?
Nope, because I ain't gonna get it.
So we've done this for 2.5 years. And we have had so much inconsistent information from the start at every level. 2 years ago, as a town, we shut businesses down when we first found out what was going on. People were scared. It made sense. A lot of what we were able to do 2 years ago isn't going to work today. You said so yourself, it's a fast-acting strain. It's here today, gone pretty much a few days later. Anyone who thought that we were going to hit some sort of peak in January, or anyone who didn't think we were going to hit some sort of peak in January, was kidding themselves. Between Thanksgiving and people getting together at Christmas, we knew that January was when it was going to peak. We know that because we have data. I mean, the data sort of bears that out. I wore a mask today for Councilor Green, as did Councilor Morris. Others didn't. Some of you stayed home, even though you could have been here today. I don't think, and Klepak, you and I have discussed this, it's 2022. If you want to phone it in, go ahead. I mean, we have the technology. If you guys never come in this building with us, I don't care. What I care about is the work and that we get stuff done. Some of us globetrot for work. Some of us globetrot just because we feel like doing it. Some of us are out eating at restaurants in town without masks, yet we're requiring people to do different things. What Klepak said that makes the most sense to me, and it always has been, is choice. You are correct that people are wearing a mask in here today. How many of them put them on simply because the meeting was on? I can count at least 3 people who are here that only put on a mask once the meeting started. It needs to be about choice. Safety makes sense. You have to be safe. If you're sick, stay home. If you have the opportunity to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. It's not going to stop you from getting it, but it may stop you from being one of the 30 people in our state that are currently on a ventilator. But it comes down to choice. When you take that choice away, we are always going to argue. We are always going to debate. And if you look at most of society's problems, lots of them come down to choice. giving people the autonomy over their bodies. However, your choice doesn't end. I mean, your employer, they want you to do something in order to go to work. They want you to wear a tie. They want you to wear a uniform. They want you to get a vaccine. It is your choice to continue to work there or go find another place of employment. It is your choice if you want to walk into my house and it is carpeted and I ask you to take your shoes off. None of that changes. Again, I will wear a mask to make you feel better. Will it be, not better, but to make you feel respected and understood? I will give you that because that is the human condition. We should be doing things that make it easier for others. But there's a limit. It is not everyone else's job to protect everyone else. It is your job to protect yourself, to protect your loved ones with the best information that you have. And your way of life and the way you want to do things is not how somebody else should live their life. It is your dogma, not theirs. So I implore you all to listen to the science. Chief, you and I had a discussion earlier. At what point are we going to ask our city employees not to have to wear a mask?
I'm glad you asked that, Mr. Mayor. We have a bi-weekly COVID team meeting, and we discussed this at the last meeting last week. We'll be meeting again next week and making a decision about the city employees needing to wear masks. We see the curve of transmissibility and infections going down steeply. It's well below the trigger point where we called for masks to be worn. We just want to be sure that the curve is going in the same direction next week.
And see, that makes logical sense. It's rational. Can I wear masks when I come into a building? Yes. When I go to a private restaurant and they want me to wear a mask, I do so. I don't complain. If I want to shop there or I want to eat there, that's what I do. But counselors and I have had a disagreement, and when it comes to public, it is for everyone, not just the ones that do the things that we want them to do. And again, the only people who do things, especially here, we saw it. They put on masks because they felt the pressure to do so. And they're not protecting themselves. The mask isn't helping you, it's helping the people around you. That's all I got. I'm going to leave the rest of you. Go ahead, Councilor Foss.
I wasn't going to speak until I felt it was right, and I am going to echo most of the mayor's sentiments. Most of them. I don't agree with all of them, but I agree with most of them. Myself and Councilor Green have had an exchange about this. It's one that is, it's near and dear, it's personal to everybody. And I get, because I was sitting on this council when COVID first hit Waterville. I get it. I don't take it lightly, but like the mayor said, things are about choice. Now, in conversations I've had, sometimes I don't exactly come across nice, and I don't mean it to be not nice. I mean it to be educate me. And a couple of the councilors tonight, Madam Chair talked about the masks, and Councilor Klepek kind of echoed that same thing. I would love to see the data sets that you guys talk about, because I want to be educated. I don't mean that in a snarky way. I mean that in a educate me, because if you're seeing something that I'm not, mine's right here on this thumb drive. What I'm seeing from the NIH, from CDC, from Johns Hopkins, it's right here. I could go brown tail moth on masks, But just like the mayor said, we don't need to have a fight about this. This is, to me, this is a freedom of choice. I know that there's some benefit to masks, some. If it's N95 properly sealed respirator, I get it. Everything else that's been going on with COVID, whether you want the shot or you don't want the shot, whether you need to put a passport out there or not, that's a freedom of choice. And if we lose that, what else have we got? So, Madam Chair, thank you for not voting to override the mayor's veto. I appreciate that. That's one of the things that is keeping this on the table. Okay.
I do want to add that it's really not just about choice here, because we actually voted as a council to follow the CDC guidelines, which were to wear masks indoors when the transmission was substantial in the county, and it has been ever since October when we implemented that. So it is partly just about following our own resolutions, and even when it's not something that we would choose. And that's all I want to say.
Councilor,
Yeah.
Councilor Frankie.
Well, Mr. Mayor, you finally said something on this issue that I can agree with, and that is that wearing the mask is not for your own personal safety. It's for the safety of the people around you. This is a matter of respecting those who are sitting next to you at the dais, Councilor Foss, not whether you are personally wearing a N95 mask. For your own personal safety. It's about the respect of the people around you. I'm going to still vote to override your veto, Mr. Mayor, because I think that meeting remotely in the current state is the best way to go.
Claude, I hope you get to meet remotely for the rest of time. Meaning, there's no reason why remote should ever go away. It's 2022. The more chances we give people to interact with their elected officials, the better. It is about safety, but it is also about consent. And if 2 adults, 3 adults, 5 adults, however many adults want to get into a room and they consent to being in that room together, who is anyone else to say that what they're doing is wrong? It's not. It's their choice. It's the way they want to live. I am simply wearing a mask today just to protect you. Not him, because he doesn't want to be protected. I mean, it's true. And not just you. And not, I'm not saying
I mean, don't
you.
do it for me, Jay. Do it because it's, it's what we agreed on.
No,
and
we agreed that we would follow the CDC guidelines, and it is a recommendation. It is not a, you must do it. It is a recommendation. They recommend. We have followed the policy to the T. So much so that when we went to a city hall meeting, I ate freaking popcorn during the entire meeting to show how silly the loophole was. It was silly. We tell people you must wear a mask and you must do it this way, but if you're eating in a room, you don't have to wear it. I mean, what's the difference? If I'm eating in that room and you're sitting in there without a mask with me, and you made that choice, why is mandating that you do something else a better solution? It doesn't pass the initial step. And I don't mean where I'm saying I'm doing it just for you, because I don't disagree with you. It has to be about public safety, but you can't force people to do that. At no point can we take sovereignty over the body of another human being. Ever. That's not how this works. That's how you end up with a state like Texas that wants to bring up barricades and make it harder for women to do things with their own doctors because somebody else thinks that's the way it should be. No. Not while I'm here. That is not okay to do. We do not own other human beings. We don't force them to do anything. We give them a choice, and if they don't want to comply, then they can go elsewhere. But you must give everybody the same opportunity. You won't get the same outcome, but you got to give them all the same opportunity. And that's all I got. I'm done with it. Cleat-pack.
No, I nothing. If you're good, it's like, thank you for the words of wisdom, Mayor. I wish we had those words of wisdom earlier so that we wouldn't have had to go through a veto and then overriding a call to override a veto. I'm pretty eager to move on.
As am I.
I sort of feel like we've all expressed ourselves here.
Yeah. Thank you. Patty, I'll move to a roll call.
Counsel Morris?
No.
Counsel DeBrito?
Okay, so that's why I have my question, because I got confused. So what are we voting on right now, to veto?
So we're voting to override the veto.
Okay, right now. So
So-
I'll vote yes.
You're voting yes?
Yes, to overriding.
Counsel Klepak?
No.
Counsel Green?
No.
Counselor Foss?
No.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes.
Counselor McCormick?
No.
The vote is 2 in favor and 5 opposed.
Moving on to Resolution 58, 2022.
I have a question. So now that it's not veto, like when we do go to a meeting, are there gonna be masks available? And are they gonna be like hand sanitizer and stuff like that available?
Yes, masks are already available. And Counselor Green and I have discussed this, and she knows that I have asked that we put out N95 masks. I'm not against masking, I'm against the choice. I expect us to have N95 masks at the door. I expect us not to have the cheap ones that don't work. If you're going to make or create a barrier to entry, then you take care of the people that have to go in there. So we should have hand sanitizer station, we should have N95 masks, and they should be readily available for any guest that wants to wear one.
Sounds good.
58, 2022.
Ratify a collective bargaining agreement, fire department.
Move to adopt.
The most important thing of
Second.
the evening. Let me tell you what, Chief. People have already heard me, but I think that your department does a phenomenal job. And I hope that over the last few years, you've noticed a willingness of the city to make sure that you guys and girls are getting what you need out of us. It's hard to expect you to do a job and we don't give you the resources to be able to do that work. Your whole department is woefully underpaid for the work that you do. I hope that this helps solve some of that. I know that it's going to help with some morale. I talked to some of your people. And I appreciate the work that goes into making all of this happen. Counselor Frankie, same thing. I appreciate you. You were a big part of what was going on with this. Your background lends itself to these sorts of negotiations. We don't always agree, but I do appreciate you. And Steve, for what you've done. Bobby Joe, who's unsung. I know she wants to do everything because she's Wonder Woman, but we got to get her some help. I'm going to open it up to the rest of you. No discussion? Patty, can you get a roll call? Oh, Steve, go ahead, Steve.
I'd like to just cap this off by saying that the contract that you're about to ratify is going to put the city in a very competitive position in hiring and retaining fire personnel. It's going to bolster our ambulance service and allow the chief the latitude to be able to bring people onto the department in a way that he's never been able to do that before, with recognition of their prior service in other departments. So if you choose to ratify this contract, I think that you're making a major step forward in the productivity and the appreciation of the Waterville Fire Department.
Councilor Green.
Yeah, Steve, could you just give a summary? I know that since this is, collective bargaining agreement, you may not be able to share all the details, but can you give us an overview of what this will do for the fire department?
Well, to start with, it's going to increase the firefighter EMT wages from a starting wage of $16 an hour, I believe, up to a little over $20 an hour, which would make the starting wage competitive with our surrounding communities. It's also going to raise the ceiling for all of the ranks so that over a 25-year career, they are going to be extremely competitive with the surrounding communities. The wage scales are very similar to what we've done in the police department for the same purposes. One of the major changes coming with this contract is moving from 3 shifts to 4 shifts, which is going to address the burnout that we're experiencing in the fire department and the morale issues that come with the constant work that they are doing on their 24-hour shifts with only a day off in between. I'd like to thank as well the fire union, because they worked professionally with us to get to this resolution. It was not a combative environment in any sense, and I think we're all in step moving into the future. Chief, do you want to add anything by way of details?
I certainly have a lot more details in here, but this essentially takes our working schedule and from a 53-hour average per week down to a 42 by implementation of that 4th shift. We will be hiring some additional firefighters, which will help spread some of the burden of overtime as well. Some of the other details in the contract, it creates a captain level promotional position. It does eliminate a promotional position to allow us to streamline our process as well. This clarifies some earned paid leave language. This allows our call firefighters to drive some of our auxiliary apparatus. This clarifies some stipend workload. It adds transitional work maternity policy for female firefighters. And one of the big ticket items here is this significantly increases the incentive for firefighters to go outside and obtain a higher level of skill and training, specifically EMT, AEMT, and paramedic as well. One of the final comments I have, I echo what the mayor has said about the fire department. Our supervisors and staff are top-notch, and quite frankly, they've deserved this for a long time, and they continue to outperform every expectation that the city sets for them. Without our fire department, we certainly wouldn't be doing as well, I'll tell you, with the staff we have. The last item I will say is I made it very clear to the council that I needed tools in my toolbox to help recruit and retain our firefighters. And this contract unconditionally provides me with the tools necessary to not only retain, which is the most important, but to attract firefighters to our organization. So I thank the council and the city manager for your support on this.
Any other discussion? I'm going to open it up to public. Go ahead, Scott.
Scott Maggie, Ward 7. I just want to say
Please turn the microphone on.
Is that better? Okay. Okay, I'll say again, big thanks to our fire department who worked tirelessly today up at the fire in Silver Place, who was short-staffed, had to call in mutual aid departments, and you know, we know the families lost their homes, but there was no loss of life. And again, you know, they really deserve a big thank you, and hopefully this will help them out. And especially a big thank you to the chief, who I'm sure who was there all day, and then came to the meeting to work on this. I'm pretty sure he wants to go home. So again, on behalf of not myself and probably most of the citizens, if they were here, probably say thank you guys for all you guys do.
Really appreciate that. Thank you. That's our job, and we like to do it. So appreciate it.
Thanks, Doug. All right, moving on. Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes.
Counselor McCormick?
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Steve, before I move forward, we have somebody on Zoom, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Should we just let him go and come back next week?
Do what?
Do you want him to come back next time, or do we want to let him in? I mean,
Well, I think that you want to hear his report.
I do. Should we do that now before we go into this? Somebody was supposed to speak to us about our audit. They were on Zoom, but we got sidetracked with everything else.
So you need a motion to take things out of order.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
All right.
Patty, you need a roll call on that?
So we're putting the audit report now?
Yes.
Yeah, why don't we do the
I don't
roll
want to
call?
leave him hanging for the rest of the
No,
night.
no, no, I have no problem with that.
Or her.
No.
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yeah.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes.
Counselor McCormick?
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Mr. Mayor, I don't expect that this is going to be a long presentation, but it's going to hit the high points of the audit and the financial statements so that you have an understanding of generally where the city sits.
All right. Sorry about the wait.
Oh, no problem. It's tax season, so I was doing some other work in behind here. So I am going to share my screen. It looks like that access has been disabled.
Eric, would you
So,
introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I will. A lot of the counselors I recognize. My name is Eric Netto. I am a partner with Nicholson, Michaud, and Netto. We've been doing the audit for the city for several years. And we're here tonight to present, as Steve mentioned, an overview of the audit and present some key results in some of your areas. And I prepared a presentation, but can somebody allow access, sharing access?
I mean, if I was magical, I'd make it happen for you, but unfortunately, I don't have that.
I see a mouse moving at the speed of light over there right now.
I'll say abracadabra, and in a second, it's going to work, and then I'll get the credit. But see?
There we go.
The mayor's powers.
We call that J magic.
For the record,
All right.
call that J Magic.
So can everybody see that okay?
Yes.
All right, excellent. All right, getting right in here. I know you guys have a lot to do tonight, so I'll try to be quick. So really quickly, just an overview of the financials. The financial statements are the responsibility of city management. Our responsibility as the auditors to express an opinion on the financials based on our audit. Okay, we conduct our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, and those standards provide reasonable assurance that the financials are free from material misstatement. The financials that I believe the council has been provided access to, they are in draft form, but they're just in draft form because we're still finalizing our process. but we will be issuing an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion on the fiscal year 21 financials. The city's financial statements, when you look at the report in total, it's about 60 pages. We're not going to go over all of those pages tonight, thankfully. But basically, there's three main components of your financials. We've got the government-wide financial statements, which basically we report financial information for the city on a full accrual basis, right? So we record fixed asset, capital assets, long-term debt, net pension liability, and other various accruals. Think of it as kind of your citywide financials. Then there's another section of your financial statements, which is also very important, and that's your fund financial statements. Okay, the fund financial statements would be your general fund, your special revenue fund, capital projects. Those are reported more on a current financial resources or a modified accrual basis. So as I mentioned earlier, government-wide, where we record capital assets and long-term debt. Within the fund financial statements, we're not recording those. We're actually showing capital asset expenditures as an expenditure. And we're recording debt payments as an expenditure. We're not accruing those liabilities and those assets. And then thirdly, within the financial statements, we also provide a reconciliation from your government-wide to your fund financial statements. So the presentation a lot of the slides that we're going to be going through tonight are more on the fund financial side, particularly on the general fund. Okay. This first slide shows your tax receivable and liens in the general fund over the past 7 years. You can see in fiscal year 21 that there was a slight increase in your taxes receivable, about $145,000 increase from the prior year. And you can see that this fluctuates from year to year. Some years it's up, some years it's down. Really a timing issue of when the citizens are paying their bills. On average, your end of year balance is actually a little bit below average over the last 5 years. So again, not a huge red flag or concern. It's really just an illustration of kind of where your taxes have been over the past trend period here. Okay, your property tax collection rate. In fiscal year 21, your property tax collection rate was about 96%. That was down a little bit from the prior year. You were a little closer to about 96.5% fiscal year 20. Again, good consistent trend since 2015. Those collection rates have been going up. This slide shows a trend of your property tax rates. There was no change in your property tax rate in fiscal year 21 from fiscal year 20. It was 25.76 mils. And I know for the fiscal year 22 budget, there was a slight decrease in your property tax rate. So we'll see that next year. Another area that I wanted to show a little trend analysis on is your long-term debt level. And you can see that in fiscal year 21, there was an increase. There was an increase in fiscal year 20 from fiscal year 19. And that makes sense. In fiscal year 20, we had a new bond. And we also had a new bond in fiscal year 21. So, we're bringing on some additional long-term debt. So you had it's about a $4.6 million bond that was added in fiscal year 21. The city paid principal payments on their long-term debt of just under $2.3 million. And the city's long-term debt is within the statutory levels that the state of Maine requires, which is basically 15% of the state's valuation of the city. So you're well within those limits. These next few slides are going to illustrate, I think, a little bit of what Steve was talking about as far as some of the positive nature of the general fund for fiscal year 21. So you can see in this slide here, this is the fund balance for the general fund for fiscal year 21. And this is the combined fund balance for the city and the school. And for fiscal year 21, we were just under 9.9 million. That was an increase of approximately 1.9 million over fiscal year 21, fiscal year 20. Okay, with that increase in the fund balance, you're going to see as we look at the individual, this is the city's component. The city's component is just under 8 million. Again, when we're looking at fund balance in total, now we start breaking that down, we're going to see some of these positive changes. So that's the city's fund balance, just under 8 million. And then the school also had an increase in their fund balance this year, about a $44,000 increase in their fund balance. So their fund balance is just under slightly above 1.3 million. Right, the city has a fund balance policy calculation. It's the city's policy to maintain a fund balance of approximately 12% of their general fund expenditures. And basically this calculation is done by taking the 9.8 million that we determined earlier, that is your combined fund balance in the general fund, and dividing that by your general fund expenditures were about 44 million in fiscal year 21. So your calculation this year was well above the 12%. The city's at about just over 20%, about 20.32% in fiscal year 21. So what that means in kind of real numbers, okay? So the city's unassigned fund balance, 12% of your general fund expenditures would be about 5.3 million, okay? So we're over that the combined unassigned fund balance of about $9 million is over the fund policy calculation by about 3.6, okay? And the city's portion of that, the school's portion of that is about $1 million. So that leaves the remaining amount for the city, and that's about 2.6 million. That number is a key component, I know, as you guys are using that for budgeting purposes. All right, this next slide is an interesting slide as well. So each year, the city and the school budget, as part of their budget process, they're budgeting to utilize a portion of their fund balance. Okay, in fiscal year 21, put my page here. In fiscal year 21, the city did not utilize any of their budgeted fund balance. Okay, so, and we actually added to our fund balance, as I mentioned earlier, by about 1.9 million. So we had budgeted to use about, I think it was around $670,000, $680,000 combined between the city's general fund and the school's general fund for current year budget. We added 1.9 million to our fund balance, which means that overall the city had a positive budget variance of almost 2.6 million. Okay, so again, and you can see in this slide that the city consistently has performed well budget to actual, so they haven't had to utilize that budgeted fund balance. You can see from fiscal year 18, 19, 20, and 21, that was the case. So these next couple of slides are pie charts that just show a breakdown of your revenues and expenditures. The two largest components would be property taxes and intergovernmental revenue. So that's your state revenue sharing, school and city, government grants, things of that nature. This year, typically your taxes are going to be your largest percentage of revenue. This year that shifted a little bit into the intergovernmental. That was due to increases at both the school and the city level on state revenue sharing. And there was also a significant amount of grant revenue, particularly at the school level, for a lot of the CARES money that was made available as well. All right. And your general fund expenditures, obviously education historically has been the largest percentage of the general fund expenditures. Protection is close behind. It's not close, but it's the second highest percentage, about 14.8. That's your police, fire. And then third is general government. So about 9.46% of the general fund expenditures are in that category. What I didn't show in these slides was if you were to look at a trend analysis, which we maintain as part of our audit, and we use that for analytical purposes. If you look at a trend analysis of your general fund revenues and expenditures, you're going to see very consistent trends for many years for the city. All right, just a few other matters here as we wrap things up. Some required communications for the council. Typically, we would disclose here if there were any difficulties in dealing with management and performing and completing the audit, and we had none. We discuss a variety of things with school and city staff as we're going through the audit process. Everybody's been very helpful and willing to provide information in a timely manner. We didn't have any disagreements with management as it pertains to any financial reporting, accounting, or auditing matters. And again, I want to thank management of the school and the city for helping us through the audit process. It's a difficult, municipal auditing is a difficult process. There's a lot of information that we need to review. The financial statement process can be challenging. So we appreciate everybody's patience as we've been getting through that process. We will be making some recommendations to the city in fiscal year 21 when we finalize our engagement, primarily around financial reporting and year-end close procedures. The two other quick things I wanted to mention, we do, some of you may be aware of this, but some of you may not. The school department is included as part of the city's financial statements. Okay, it's a department, we're including it, but we also perform a separate audit engagement for the school. And we've been doing that for years. We issue a separate standalone report. That report's available upon request from the school district. And we will be issuing an unmodified opinion, a clean opinion on the school. They're doing a good job over there. Their controls are sound, and their financial information is accurate, and we don't propose a lot of correcting entries or anything like that. So just wanted to mention that. I haven't really talked much about that process in the past, but I did want to make you aware that we are conducting a separate engagement and going through a full audit with the school department as well. And we also are performing and wrapping up right now a single audit, which is an audit of your federal expenditures. As I mentioned earlier, with the intergovernmental revenue, there's a lot of new grant funding. A lot of you are aware on the city side, we have the build grant. On the school side, there's a lot of CARES money, a lot of guidance, a lot of requirements that we need to evaluate, and we're still in the process of wrapping up that work. And we'll be issuing a separate report when that is done. So that kind of wraps up our presentation. I just wanted to highlight again that, the city, I think, a couple of takeaways from this meeting would be that, budget-wise, the city continues to perform very well. They're generating revenues exceeding their budget, and they're doing a good job of controlling their expenditures. I know the department heads review information on a regular basis, and everybody really takes ownership of their departments and really following, monitoring their budgets. And I think that shows certainly over the last 3 to 4 years as you've been continuing to add to your fund balance. And I know that, as we mentioned, when you get into budget process and you start looking at your unassigned fund balance and what's available to use, certainly adding to your fund balance in the prior audit period is certainly a positive trend for the city.
Thank you for that. So you're saying we're doing a good job?
Yes.
I just wanted to hear that again. I don't hear it often.
Yeah.
Councilor
Foss.
All right. Can't even lead off that. So one slide, and it's a question. It's not an accusation at all. Again, I come off sometimes as being a jerk, but I really don't mean it to be. Why is it that we're collecting at 96%? It seemed like a sharp decrease, 20 to 21. Is there a reasonable explanation of that doesn't take all night?
Everybody was home and had a checkbook.
Eric can supplement what I'm about to say, but my belief and understanding is that it has a lot to do with when people decide or can pay their taxes.
Okay.
And in this past couple of years with COVID and all of the impacts that it's had on employment and housing and people's ability to pay their bills, I think we're seeing some of that effect here.
Sure.
The obligation to pay the tax bill never goes away.
Right.
So, we might see in a year or two that some of these properties that reflect that 96% are coming up for foreclosure.
Right.
And we'll have to deal with them in a different way then.
Okay, all right. Second, sorry.
I would quickly echo what Steve just mentioned, and another metric to kind of look at it.
Before you speak, please.
Sarah,
I'm sorry?
Can you stop sharing before you speak? We can't see you.
Oh, yep.
Come on back to us.
Absolutely. There we go.
You're like Oz.
Another thing to think about with tax, and Steve's absolutely right that, whether it's municipality, nonprofits, a lot of organizations are dealing with timing issues on collecting receivables. But the city's trends in tax liens has been actually pretty consistent. So I really do think this is the collection rate, given the environment, I wouldn't have been surprised to see a lower collection rate. So I think we'll see that start to improve again as we move forward.
Okay, thank you. One other topic that, we talked about last time, and with Chief Essler being here today, with that fund balance growing, this is a perfect opportunity to start, and me and Mr. Daly talked about it today, looking at our maintenance side, so that, we haven't got fence lines that we've got a bond out for that we keep track of, and it would lower that bond expenditure down the road. Not that I'm going to see it here, but it's just a different mindset. We could use some of that general fund that's unallocated and just do some maintenance.
I always say it's better if we can just write the check than it is if we have to borrow the money to do it.
If we're buying a vehicle, we better change oil.
Steve, we've been doing pretty good. This entire council, I mean, McCormick, you just got here, but we'll still give you credit. You've done well together. A lot of the changes that we made, a lot of the things that we've added have worked. There's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be a lot of that, but you guys should be happy about the work that you have put in to make this a reality. I mean, it's good. And I think that we're better off than a lot of other municipalities, and we're doing the right things. And Morris, it's because you got here in 2018.
Well,
Made them changes. We have great department heads in this city.
Yeah.
And they really run it. They know what they're doing. They're there. They work with us, and we work with them. It's been a great partnership over the last couple of years to see how we have learned to work well together for the betterment of the municipality and each other. We may not seem it, but we are producing a better quality of life for our residents. Anything else, Steve?
No, that's it for me, Mayor.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Eric.
You got it. Have a good night, everybody.
Ordinance.
Thank you.
59, 2022, or did we already do
No,
That looks like it.
Yep, you're right.
Ordinance 59, 2022.
Amend the zoning ordinance off of College Avenue.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And we've got, is there anything to add to that? Do you have another amendment?
No.
No.
Right, this one is to clean up the properties behind the first row on College Ave.
Yep.
So it's a little bit, there was a bit of a ragged edge there with the 200 feet line, so
All right.
those properties will all go to, they're all in residential use, and they'll all
Go to the
be
residential
rezoned
email?
from commercial to residential, right?
Just that little sliver, right? Because it's part of it anyway. All right. Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counsel DeBrito?
Yes,
Counselor Klepak,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss.
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes.
Counselor McCormick.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, moving on to ordinance 60, 2022.
Amend the zoning ordinance 20 and 24 North Street.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Counselor Frankie.
What exactly are we doing with the zoning on 20 and 24 North Street?
Good, Steve, you want to answer that for him?
Yes. Those two properties are being rezoned from residential D to a commercial, rather a contract zone commercial A. Right now, they're positioned adjacent to where Butler Lumber, moving northward or westward on North Street, and they're being used for parking. They're not zoned for that, so this would just correct the zoning to accommodate the use.
And is this a recommendation from the planning board?
Yes.
And do we have a report from the planning board, because this is a contract zone? I thought that was gonna be our procedure to get a written report from the planning board detailing their reasons for their recommendation.
I think that's in the packet, Claude.
I believe it is.
I'm looking at it right now.
Is-
Three slides down. Sorry to interject, but I was looking at it.
No, that's fine. My only concern is that we keep doing the contract zoning, and I thought we were gonna try to move away from that.
Go ahead, Steve.
I hope at some point in the future we will be moving away from that, and maybe that's something that will come out of the comprehensive plan review process. Right now, the contract zoning is because of the way our zoning is structured, it's the primary mechanism we have to control what takes place on a piece of property by putting conditions on the variety of things that came out in discussion about the Sacred Heart Church. Hours of operation, particularly uses of different buildings and that sort of thing. Generally speaking, the rest of the zoning allows for uses in general and then goes right to setbacks and parking requirements and that sort of thing. It doesn't address anything in more detail than that, and the contract zoning mechanism allows us to do that. The key with contract zoning, though, is to make certain that it doesn't create a spot zone effect with a rezoning that's inconsistent with the general neighborhood around it. And in this case, it's very compatible with it because it's adjacent to the businesses that are using it for parking.
Well, by the same token, it's adjacent to a residential zone, which is what it was originally zoned as residential, so it is a major change. I know some of the folks in the neighborhood are a little concerned about having a parking lot and whether that would morph into something more serious, like a car dealership or something more intrusive.
Well, the way contract zoning works is that the use that is specifically allowed for the property is the only use under that contract. So if it's a parking lot now, it will be a parking lot until the contract, until somebody who might buy it wants to change it, and then they no longer have a contract zone. If they're going to use it for a different purpose, they have to seek that rezoning. So it will come back through the legislative process if that were to be the case.
Thank you.
think as much as we hate spot zoning, and we believe that there's gonna be some magical cure that's gonna make it so that we never have to do it again, there's a pipe dream. I think that as long as we have councils who are doing this and planning boards 10, 20, 15 years down the future, city's always going to look a little different. I don't think you're ever gonna get rid of spot zoning. No matter how comprehensive your plan is, the moment somebody buys a piece of property, they do so with a vision. I mean, we're gonna be talking about one here shortly. So I think that's always going to happen. We're never going to stop all of it. We shouldn't think that we will.
And there are cases where it's, it enhances the community. A simple example of that is the Firehouse Bakery up on Western Avenue. It has no material negative impact in the neighborhood, and it looks like it belongs there because it used to be a fire station. It's a business, but it's right there in the middle of a residential neighborhood, and they make great pies.
Councilor Green.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a really useful discussion, and I do hope the Comprehensive Plan Committee will run with it. But, you know, I guess what I'm thinking is that here we have a situation where a particular property gets used in a way that's not within the zone, and then the contract zone brings it within the legal use. Do I understand that correctly in this case? And so I'm just wondering, you know, where is the role of code enforcement in this situation? I mean, how do we get to the point where a property is used for something that's not allowed in the zone and then sort of grandfathered?
That's a very good question, Madam Chair, and it's a conversation that I've had with the code enforcement officer. The unfortunate answer at this point is that use existed before he came on the job. The code enforcement staff that we have now is much more diligent about that sort of thing, and I anticipate that we're not going to see it reoccurring.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I do agree in this case. I mean, there's a commercial across the street and next and adjacent, so you know, it doesn't seem to be out of line, but just in general practice, I think it's great to have code enforcement taking a closer look. Thank you.
Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council DeBrito?
Yes,
Council Klepak?
Yes.
Council Green?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
Reluctantly, yes.
Council McCormick?
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, resolution 61-2022.
Refer to the Planning Board zoning amendment 54 College Avenue et al.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
Patty, seeing none, I'll move to a roll call.
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council DeBrito?
yes,
Council Klepak?
Yes.
Council Green?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
Yes.
Council McCormick?
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Resolution 62-2022.
Refer to the Planning Board zoning amendment 146 Kennedy Memorial Drive.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Steve, can you let us know what this is?
Yes, this is the current Joseph Sporting Goods property that is being used totally as a commercial establishment right now. They have a prospective buyer who would like to put housing on the second floor with a commercial operation underneath. It would be a rezoning that would allow for that to happen because it's not allowed in the district that it's in right now. And I anticipate that this will be another contract zone. that's going to add to our housing stock, which is a very important thing.
Yeah, it is, and I mean, that's right in our neighborhood.
That's, yeah,
I mean, that's our neighborhood.
rock and roll.
Thank you for putting more housing in our neighborhoods. We like it. And Joseph's is great. We go over there to get our sweatshirts and stuff and all our Waterville gear. And they got a lot of good baseball stuff there. Gonna remain Joseph's?
I do not know.
Oh, that'd be, either way. Yeah. All right. Any discussion? Nope. Patty, gonna roll call.
Counsel Morris?
Yep.
Counsel DeBrito?
Yes.
Counsel Klepak?
Yes.
Counsel Green?
Yes.
Counsel Foss?
Yes.
Counsel Frankie?
Yes.
Counsel McCormick?
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Moving on to public comments. I can't see.
Yeah, you got,
You've got 63, 20.
I got
We already did
63.
63.
yeah, 63's already done.
We did
We already
that first.
63. We did that first.
Oh, did we? Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good.
Yep, we did.
That's why we do it as a team.
Sorry.
No, not at all. Okay, who on Zoom?
No.
Sarah, do we have anybody on Zoom with their hand up? No. All right, so public comments. I'll go with Scott.
No, ladies first.
She looked like she was, never mind.
I got the daggers.
Yeah, you did. Totally. Like,
why
I
I
don't
did
want
it.
to sit next to you anymore.
Thank you for letting me come speak.
I didn't know you. You were here.
So the South End Neighborhood Association, we are hosting Winterfest, which is a wonderful day of sledding. We're going to have some snowshoes for people to try out. We'll have some snacks and some warming stations all this Saturday between 10 and 2 down at Green Street Park, or the Sledding Hill Skate Park, or whatever you want to call it. And yes, we hope that you guys, everybody will join us. All are welcome. Thanks.
Scott.
Scott McAdoo. I'm here on basically as representing the President Kennebec Mescaloncy Trails. I know this is way out. This is in June, but think of warmer months. That way people can start planning. June 4th is National Trails Day. And again, KM Trails, we're in the early stages of starting to plan our annual trail event. We do know this year that it's going to be at the North Street Community Trail. We're hoping, they're meeting tonight, hoping to maybe partner with Coy Road to have one big event. Hopefully they decide they want to partner with us and do something, but at least we'll have, again, at the North Street Connector, the North Street Community Trail. Those don't know, it's one of the, they just put in the story walk, and we'll plan to have some children events and some different events. Like I said, we're early stages. Hopefully we'll have our theme and whatnot. We'll have the times, but I just want to kind of get the date in people's minds at June 4th. Hopefully we have nice weather and come out and celebrate our lovely trails.
Thanks. Scott. Arthur, you got something to say?
No, I'm just.
Come on, you don't want to tell us about those beautiful buildings.
Well, if you would, could I refer this to my son-in-law, Mike Curran? We could ask him to join and
Yeah.
help explain our aspirations for the city.
Yep.
If we could get Michael Curran on, that'd be wonderful.
Sarah, you can do it.
What's happening here?
Jay, do that thing again. You did it last time.
All right, watch. It goes like this. All you have to
wave
do
your wand.
is you have to say abracadabra,
No question, Sarah.
and then it happens. Watch. All of you say it together.
Don't make me do it. This is going well. You can do it.
Yeah.
I don't see him.
Yeah.
Right there, you're sitting on him.
Yeah, what about the allow to talk?
There he goes.
Hey.
We got him unmute now.
Now you gotta unmute him.
he has to do that, I think.
Well, he's got to unmute himself.
Michael, you're on mute.
Oh, yes, he is prepared to talk. Should we ask him to?
I am asking.
We brought our own cleat pack.
He's not there.
Oh, my. He should be.
Mike, if you can hear us, unmute your microphone.
He's putting the grandkids to bed, Arthur.
I would leave that to Joey Heather to do so. Yeah, because he has a wonderful presentation that we brought to the planning board.
Yeah, I saw
I
it.
see it in here, it's beautiful.
I watched it.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, yeah. I think it would be a great fit for the city.
So do I. I think you should come see me this week, so we can figure out how the city can help you.
Thank you. I apologize, Michael
Don't.
usually-
Michael's good. And really, we all want to get out of here anyway.
I understand.
So, Michael, thank you for coming. Arthur, call. I'd like to talk to you this week.
That was a great presentation, Mike. I appreciate that.
Have a good one. All right, can I get a motion?
we
You
have
still
some more
got
things, yeah.
city
City
manager
manager.
report,
Oh, do we
committees.
have to give him one?
Well, you know.
All right, moving on to committees, and then I'll let you go last. Any committees? Nope. Steve?
Okay, I won't keep you more than an hour.
Yeah.
And that's never mind.
I already started packing up.
I want to point out the outstanding job that Waterville Fire did today in putting out an apartment building fire out off of Silver Street. It was in a very congested area, and the risk of it spreading into the neighborhood was high with the high winds that we had today. Waterville, Skowhegan, Oakland, and Winslow all responded to the scene. It was a multiple alarm fire because of the risk involved. There were no injuries. The building may be a total loss. The Red Cross was involved to help move people into temporary housing. And the school department even contributed a school bus for warming purposes at the scene. And it was just an outstanding job done by all. Waterville Police, along with Winslow and Fairfield Police, handled all the traffic management around the area, and things moved smoothly. It was an unfortunate event, but it was a very active scene. Secondly, I'd like to report that Bill Post, our new Assistant City Manager, started work yesterday. He already has a desk piled high with the things that he has to deal with. He's going to be a very positive addition to the team, and as you all know, he has 26 years of experience in local government coming into this job. He fits well, and the work that he's going to do, I think you'll all be impressed with. Next, we're having issues with the Hedda Falls parking lot. You all know that the snow season parking ban at the concourse provides the Hedda Falls as an alternative location. What's happening, though, is that we have a lot of cars that are parked there for a long time, and they get plowed in and they don't get moved, and we're working on a strategy of how we can cause that not to happen and clear the entire parking lot, just like we do at the concourse. And when we finalize that strategy, I'll share it with you so that you and the public know how we're going to approach it. And then finally, we've had reports of cars going the wrong way on Main Street and the wrong way on Front Street. And it seems to be born out of confusion created by all of the construction work that's been going on, and frankly, a lack of signage to tell people that they shouldn't be going where they've been going. One of the things that's occurring is that the south end of Front Street is 3 lanes wide. Not Front Street, Main Street is 3 lanes wide as it comes into the intersection with Spring Street, and the far right-hand lane is supposed to go straight across, and the next two lanes are supposed to turn. Well, when there's nobody in that left-hand lane, the cars coming up from Water Street are going straight across and up Main Street. So we've put signage there that tells them, that's the wrong way, fellas. And we've had to do the same thing at the Silver Street Tavern, where people have been coming out of Silver Street and turning left on Main Street. And I expect that we're going to have to do the same thing or something similar to that on Front Street, where we have people cutting through on Common Street and then turning right on Front Street. So far, there haven't been any accidents and nobody's been hurt, but we're working on controlling the situation. That's all I have to report tonight, and it's been a good day and a very busy day.
McCormick, can you let your constituents know that they can't come up that side of Main Street?
That's Claude's side, not mine.
Yeah, they're coming up Water Street. I'm blaming you. Silver Street spot, though, that'll be nice. That won't happen once you close that off.
If we can get to that point, yes.
Yeah. I would assume that people were taking a right at Temple when they get to that light.
That could happen. Yeah,
So-
that's not happening.
Yes, some more.
One of the,
I had a vehicle wanting to turn, also he realized he couldn't turn, and he did a, like this.
Well, and if you realize that we're an American, didn't drive like you were in England.
we do encounter cars going the wrong way to get into the Colby parking lot on Appleton Street.
I'm sorry, Claude has his hand up. Claude?
I would just like to suggest to the city manager that instead of having the city manager report late at night after everything's said and done, that we return to the procedure we were using before, where the city manager's report is right up front, where people can, where the citizens can tune in, see what's happening in the city, and then tune out if they don't want to listen to the councilors go on and on. So just my suggestion that we return to what we were doing before with the city manager's report right up front. Thank you.
I got no issue with that. I think we liked it in the front.
Don't matter to me either way.
The agenda is set by the mayor by charter.
Done deal. Well, I always put you to the end, so you leave us alone.
Mayor, I have one thing.
Yes.
So anybody that lives in Ward 5, I hopefully have signed my last lease. So anybody interested in running for office for this seat, please, if you need some help, get a hold of me. And notice I didn't say Republican or Democrat. And I don't care who sits in this seat. You know, if you need help, let me know and I'll steer you in the right direction. But I won't make it to November, hopefully. Fingers crossed the trusses get delivered next week. So we get to start on this pretty quick.
And the next Ward 5 counselor is my counselor, so I'm going to give you a hard time regardless of who you are. So, all right.
So, that is a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Second.
no.
Oh.
I got Klepak.
Oh, you beat me in.
So I saw Klepak's hand go up at the last minute, so go to Klepak. And I didn't see you.
Thank you, Mayor. I know no one wants to hear about this now, but I'm saving the fun stuff for last. This is a counselor update on our progress on browntail moth. And the reason I'm doing this is because we've made expenditures, and I want, this is actually at the request of Matt Scan, the Public Works and Parks and Rec Director. His office is getting calls, and I would like the city manager to please instruct Mary Ellen or whoever is the administrator over the city's website and social media accounts to keep the public updated on the city's expenditures on this issue. We have completed a $15,000 expenditure for a contract for the inventory of the trees across the city. We have integrated that into the data that has been collected, over 300 respondents from the survey that was sent out with the mailer to every resident's house. I don't know if you want to see a picture, but the city of Waterville has a case of the measles. I have a picture here. In fact, why don't I'm going to show it to you because it's fun for me to do that. That's what the city of Waterville looks like in terms of the sampling that we have from those two sources. The yellow dots are large ornamental and non-fruiting trees. The blue dots are trees that have been impacted that are either small or fruiting trees, flowering or fruiting trees. And this is a combination of both the contracted data and the survey data. There's one other data stream that's going to be included here in the next couple days. That is the state's winter web survey, which is a third and sort of distinct pass through the city. To give you a little bit closer look, this is sorting the city along lines of severity, and you can see that there are a couple areas in town here. Certainly Quarry Road has quite a severe infestation. There's large tracts of forest in the town along Quarry Road and in the Arb that were not surveyed that undoubtedly are very heavily infested. But there are infestations throughout all of the wards in town. Residents from across the city reported pretty heavy infestations. There's some real clusters along the river that are pretty intense, and a couple of clusters on the south end that are also quite intense. We've purchased a number of tree inserts. It is sap running season, where in the next week or so, I'm working with the team to formulate the city's response. And there's going to be a list of hierarchies. We're going to treat all of the city property first, and then we're going to assess of those residents who asked for support. We're going to assess where the greatest benefit to the community lies in treating, the most impacted trees or the ones in the most densely populated parts of town. We're not going to be able to help everybody that asked for it, but we are composing that strategy now, and hopefully we'll have implemented it, at least begun implementing it. It won't be done for months now, but we'll begin implementing it by the next time we meet as a body. So yeah, I want public to be able to know that, and I know no one's listening to me now. Probably, certainly the public's not really listening to this. Maybe not anyone in the room, but if Steve, you can get this information to the, if you can get this information to Mary Ellen, I'm happy to help with that, but I'd like it posted on the city's website to take the load off the phones in Matt's office if possible, because people are asking about it.
I mean, he's probably getting enough calls about potholes, so he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to know about brown tail right now.
We'll take care of it.
Do that for him.
We'll take care of it.
And I'm glad to see that the brown-tailed moths have not been discriminating against any particular section of town.
Yeah. Well.
Well.
You don't want the full story. You can tune in on March 3rd. I'm giving a Grand Rounds presentation down at Maine General in Augusta, where I'm going to present the complete treatment strategy and more full analysis of the data if anyone wants to hear it. But there are some interesting stories in the data if you dig into it a little bit, but I'm not going to do that here.
Councilor Green.
Thank you.
This wasn't what I was going to talk about originally, but I just want to say thank you to Councilor Kleepak for all your work on this issue. It's, there's been some joking about it, but it's actually incredibly serious as well. And we're going to be, I think we're all very grateful for the role you're taking in this region and the state, frankly, on addressing the issue. But so, thank you very much. And what I wanted to say was I just wanted to say I had the delight of having a tour of the library this past week and was really kind of dazzled by the renovations. And I don't know that the library has a date when they're opening yet, but hopefully it'll be soon. You're going to be amazed at the changes, and I just want to, you know, say kudos to Tammy Rabideau and her team for taking this opportunity to really transform the library with the support, of course, of the bond that we issued. It's really amazing the changes that it's brought about, and I think you're gonna love it.
Beautiful mahogany in that place under layers of paint.
I'm going Thursday.
Does that.
It looks great.
I'm bringing my mom.
You bringing your mom?
That's the second question she asked me. Like, she doesn't even talk to me. She says hi to Quinn, and then she asks when the library opens. So
Yeah, a
I'm
lot
like,
of
well, I'm
people
going
wanna
to just
know.
bring you. You can ask the question.
We got a great
Go to them.
library.
I'm like, I'm
They're-
done dealing with
They're
you.
good over there.
Yeah.
All right. And Clepac, we were all listening to you.
I pick at you, but I was listening.
He's gonna be picking at his skin
cool,
in
man.
the spring.
I just
A
need Steve
motion to adjourn.
I was listening too, but I'm not going to Augusta on
Good
March
night.
3rd.
Yeah, I'm not going to Augusta.